had tons of people ask me for a tutorial and my mods, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll have to write up a document and I'll put it under my channel membership. So you have to be a member of my channel. To join my channel, you'll have to do it from a web browser. You can't do it from your Apple phone, is my understanding, something like that. So I'll get that document together later, but I'm gonna do basically an unedited tutorial because I don't have time to edit a tutorial. So let's go over the pieces that you need. And my pieces are different than the original pattern. Like I said, I will modify a document that just says add this much to the original pattern piece, yada, 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 okay? So for hardware on this version, you're gonna need 4 number 5 zipper pulls, 2 D-rings that correspond with your webbing size. You can do 1 inch or 1.5 inch on this tote. I'm doing 1 inch today, so I have 2 1-inch D-rings, a 1 inch slide adjuster bar, 2 swivel clasps for 1 inch. I have 1 woven label, but I like to use 2 on this. And then I have my cut of webbing for the strap that goes over the top, and then my cut of webbing for the bottom connector holder, okay? Let's see what else. You'll need your 3 cuts of zipper tape, your cut of fold over elastic, and I like to break these into little packets. So I always have the bottom separate. We'll deal with that first. Then you're gonna have your 2 sides and your top and your 2 strap loops. You can substitute the strap loops for like 1/2 inch webbing if you have it. Probably even 1 inch, honestly, but I don't do that. I like my strap loops to match my back train trolley case thing. My next pack is the trolley sleeve stuff. So I have the mesh for that, 2 of the zip tabs, the back, the trolley liner, and the actual trolley exterior. You don't need to necessarily line this pocket though. In my opinion, if you're dealing with bulk, don't line it. It's fine. Nobody cares what the inside of the zipper pocket looks like, personally. I am lining this though because it is a custom order. So that's the next pack we're gonna work on. And the final pack we're gonna work on is the flap situation. Mine's totally different than hers, even the shape and such. So I have my liner and exterior of the flap. I have the zipper overlay. I have the divided slip pockets and the mesh. And also you're gonna need some kind of like ollie fun or something that you can back on the mesh, so it has to be thin enough. But I really do recommend ollie fun. You can get it at Walmart. And I think that's all we need. And this is going to be a 1 bobbin bag. It only takes 1 bobbin, which is nice. So let me get my iPad up so I can see comments if people have questions as we go. Because my phone just, oh, now it's deciding, hi guys. Now it's deciding to show me comments today. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. All right, let me pull you up here. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so one more time, if I am going to give these mods that I have, since I've had a flood of people asking for them, they'll be under my channel membership on YouTube, and I'm not going to give you, like, you have to buy the pattern too. I'm just going to say add this much to the width of this piece, add this much to the length, kind of like that. That's the only way I can think to do it, to make sure the original artist still gets her credit and money. Okay, and I think channel membership is only like $1.99 a month or I don't know, something. It's the only way I can think to do it without having to get my Patreon on. So here we go. First things first. I have my bottom strap for the connectors and I fold over twice. So it's like probably 1/2 inch and then over the bar. And then I'm going to clip it. And do the same for the other side of this bottom strap. Okay. There we go. There's one. Then we're going to build our actual like adjustable strap that goes over the top. So to do that, you need your slide adjuster. You're going to go from the bottom up and over the middle bar. And I do the same thing. I'm going to only fold once here, but you could fold twice. Depends what your machine can take. And then we're going to clip that. Now that I'm thinking about it, because this is black, I probably want to do black on the webbing. So let me grab my black thread. And I'm going to leave the top thread as, or the bottom thread as blue because you won't see it. And I am sewing on a Texo 2750 Pro, and I have Tex 70, I believe. Yep, Tex 70 from Size Swag. Both of these are Tex 70. Calypso blue will be my like baby blue color, and then just black. Okay, I'm gonna sew a box right on this exterior, right on this fold here for both sides. Yes, it's Matt. Yeah, Matt, it's a new machine. How are you feeling? Hopefully you feel better. All right, here we go. Oh, I did this the wrong way. Oh well. It's fine. It's kind of a cool design feature, I guess. There's one side. It actually does look pretty rad. I'm just singeing my threads. Good morning. It is. It's basically the best machine that you can get industrial-wise, in my opinion. I mean, I've only used a few, but it's pretty badass. Okay, hold on, my fold wasn't perfect. For those joining now, I'm sewing in a heavily customized everything but the machine tote. I will provide my modifications for my channel members. It'll just be a document uploaded. You'll still have to buy the pattern. It'll be more like add 1 inch to this, or you know, stuff like that. So this is kind of a tutorial of how I sew these for myself. This is my last custom order for this, so I probably won't ever make it again, just because I've made so many. But I did teach a class on this, so it was super fun. Ooh, went off road there. Let's see how that looks. Not too bad. I did see your message, Robbie. That's why I'm doing this. The class I had is like a 6-hour-long class, and it's like a lot of chit chat and helping people, so this is just more streamlined. Okay, there's our finished D-ring connector. Now we can do our strap. Same thing, we're gonna do a box right here. And I really make sure my edges are tucked in for my webbing. Personally, it drives me crazy when it sticks out, but everything's different. The size, the flap. The pattern as it stands now does not fit a modified tote. The drawers now have to be 2 3-drawer units with 2 drawers ripped off of one and stacked back onto the 3-pack of the other. And the size dimensions just aren't proper for that. If you have the original 5-drawer unit that Sterilite used to manufacture, you're fine, but they don't manufacture it anymore, and I couldn't find it, so I had to redo a lot of it. And the designer said she is eventually going to redo the pattern, but that was a few months ago and she still hasn't. So I'm not quite sure when that will come out, but eventually there should be a modified pattern for the new drawer units. She is aware they don't fit, so. And to be clear, the first one I ever made was 2 pattern, and I could shove my drawers in there, but it is so tight and the zipper looks like it's gonna rip out, so that's why I modified it. Personal experience. Okay, so I have that sewed on now. I'm gonna take my swivel. No, this is a custom one, I'm sorry. My last custom order of this pattern. I don't usually take customs, but I did in this case. Okay, so I put on that, and then I go back up and over the bar on the slide adjuster. Okay, now we have that. And we're gonna take this raw edge over here of the strap and wrap it around the last swivel clasp, and I'm going to do the double fold like we did on the D-rings. But make sure your fold is on the back side of your bar. You don't want your fold to be on the right side. And then I always take a woven and slide it in here. Here. Same box again. All right, and our straps and connector is done. All the webbing stuff. Now what we're going to do is sew the D-ring connector strap onto the bottom panel. And if you hadn't already, it is a good idea to get the centers of every piece. All right, let me put this strap away. Oh, good morning from a little chilly Texas. It's kind of cold here too. I mean, not complaining because other people have it worse, but. Okay, I'm gonna get some double-sided tape and run it down the middle of my connector. And it's not gonna go all the way, it's just gonna go kind of just in the middle because I'm going to sew this on with a box. Now you have to orient your bottom to be taller than it is wide. So in front of you it's taller than it is wide, and you want the strap to go horizontally across the middle. And you'll want to line it up, getting a halfway mark here. Kind of just center the connector in here, kind of eyeball it. You won't be able to tell if it's not perfect. It's the bottom of the bag. Now make sure your folds are the other way. Your folds will be facing down, but because the top stitch is more noticeable, I'm going to do it the other way, just on this one. So now I'm going to sew. I usually get my, let's see, I measure in about 1 inch from each side of the bottom and make a mark on the webbing because that's where I'm going to start and stop my box stitch. You could use rivets. There were people that used rivets in my class instead of stitching it on. I just stitch it on, but either works. Yeah, the drawers are on Amazon, the 3-drawer units. if you go to my Amazon storefront, I do have them linked there, but you can just Google 3-drawer Sterilite units. Just triple check the size. These ones are gonna be the 8.5 deep by 7 1/4 wide by 6 7/8 high. I'll put that on the document as well that I'll upload here. But yeah. Okay, so this is our finished bottom. We're gonna set this aside till the very end. Now we're gonna move on to the sides and the top and the strap loops. So I'm gonna pull that little pack over here. Okay. I'm very extra with these strap loops, but you don't have to be if you don't want to be. So I'm gonna find the center of them. And then I also mark a 1/2 inch in from each short edge. See what I'm doing? Good. Don't just willy-nilly your marks. Make sure they're super accurate, because otherwise your strap loop tab things will look weird. For this bag, I do recommend a poly or a nylon, some kind of synthetic material. I'm using Tulipy Smoothie Smooth today and Wonderground Fabrics waterproof canvas. I've also used the poly waterproof canvas from My Little Shindig, but I interfaced the back with IndoFuse Plus. You need that. So if you, and I've done one woven as well, and I interfaced it with IndoFuse Plus. You do need a little bit more structure. Okay, so now I'm gonna fold in all these short edges. And I'll make sure I go back and put timestamps on this for everyone. Fold up to that line you marked, the little 1/2 inch line, so you should have a 1/4 inch fold now. Hey Nat, what up girl? I'm using Smoothie Smooth. I don't think Baby Blue's in stock right now, but I highly recommend Smoothie Smooth. It is my favorite nylon base, honestly, the best. It's like the perfect thickness. And you don't really need lining or interfacing. You don't need anything with it. It's so good. Okay. So we got our short ends folded in. And then I like to run a scotch tape down each of the longer edges. You can just do one bigger piece of tape in the middle and fold to the center line if you want. I'm not a center tape kind of girl, but if you are, go for it. Okay. Oh, the boys went to the fishing show. My husband went fishing. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll finish my bag. I have one more left. Then I have to do 2 Brook wallets. So I'll probably cut those out if I have time. I should have time this morning after we're done. Okay, I'm just using my lighter to singe and make sure all those little frays are in check on these little end corners, because I don't like it when that happens and you can see it peeking out. Okay, there's one ready. Okay, now we're gonna top stitch down both long edges, and I will be pulling my thread tails to the back. And we're gonna switch our thread back to blue. Shouldn't need black anymore. You might hear children squeaking. We had sleepover over here, and now they're all awake and wild, so. And they eat donuts for breakfast, you can imagine. Oh boy. All right. Perfect. Kind of just get right in the corner. Hold it. I use a 2mm stitch length just because these are so tiny. And then get close to the edge. You can manually place your needle to make it look even. And just keep your tails long. Next. Repeat for the other one. Now the fun task of pulling all the threads to the back, tying them off, singeing them, and I use a little drop of fray check on the knots. Yes, the new cylinder arm, Karen. It's pretty nice. Although I won't use the cylinder arm feature on this bag, but this bag is an unlined bag. You cannot tell that fact once the drawers are in, just so you know. So. My fingers absolutely hate doing this. They're so, it feels like so tiny with big fingers. But, once we get it going. There we go. file a freight check. Just a little drop on each knot. This will be sewn down as well, so one done. Yeah, honestly, I'm not here to like sway you, but it's a good decision to get a cylinder arm. If you can find a will or a way to make it work, I would. The other thing is go on your marketplace and type in industrial sewing machine, and you can save that search so that when new stuff pops up for sale matching that, it'll alert you on Facebook. I couldn't have afforded this machine brand new, but secondhand for sure. I know. Sorry. When have I not swayed you, bestie? That's what Melissa said. I know. The 1181N is a great machine. I just went over to Michelle's house yesterday. She's the lady who bought my machine, my Juki 1181N, and she just needed a little bit of help. I had to deliver her tote finished, and she needed a little bit of help with the machine and just trying to get her back stitching right. We fixed her stitch length. So it was accurate, and just gave her some tips and tricks. But I mean, I love that machine. I could do most things with that machine. This machine makes it easier. That's the thing. It's easier on your body and your hands, particularly, because you don't have to fight with a bag to top stitch it. And the flatbed makes it just like my Juki, you know. Okay, so both of these strap loops are done. Now I'm gonna get my 1/2 inch tape. And it's I'd probably do like a 1/2 by 1/2 kind of square, and I put it right along each end. If your machine doesn't like to sew through tape, you probably want to do like a 1/4 inch tape instead of a 1/2. We are going to do a 1/2 inch box stitch, like the one with the X, you know? So, is this necessary to do a box stitch? No. But I like the way it looks, so that's why I do it. All right. Done. Now you're going to get your side panels. Make sure your centers are marked on the top and the bottom. And we are going to get a ruler and measure 2 3/8 inches down. And then remove the backing on your tape, on your strap loops. And then center these on here. There's one ready. Yeah, way less slouching. My neck doesn't hurt now when I sew. It did before, pretty bad. I could barely get through a bag, honestly. Like all the way through, you know? For taller people, it's way better. I mean, you can get I think this stool is really tall I have. It even has like a foot bar in the bottom of the stool, but yeah. Okay, then I'm going to get and make a mark 1/2 inch in on each of these short ends, but I like to line up the 1/2 inch mark with where my stitching starts and stops. But just make sure it's not only at the stitching, but it's also at the, like, straight, you know what I mean? Sometimes your stitching might not start perfectly at the same spot, so. Kind of like that. Yeah, you know, the slouch. Okay, so looking at my panel the right way, you know it is taller than it is wide. I like to start up in the upper right hand corner and sew the box stitch. So I'm gonna put my needle down in this hole. I don't back stitch, you could, but I don't. And I'm gonna go down to this hole, the bottom hole on the right hand side for that top stitching. And then I'll go down to the line we marked, the 1/2 inch mark. Then we'll go diagonally across. We'll go down this side because we haven't sewn the top edge yet along the top stitching. Then we'll come back over diagonally, then we'll come back down, and then we'll go across our mark. So you should only theoretically be stitching twice the same line. I can't figure out any other way to do it, but it's a pretty nice way to do a box stitch. I do it on my Hellcat pattern as well. Now when you're coming into the end here, I always like lift my needle and make sure it's going right in that hole. And I want it to end right where my line is drawn. And the reason for that is for the webbing to fit. So if you're only doing 1 inch webbing, it's not super important, but if you're doing 1.5 inch webbing, it's very important you be mindful of your not going past your line that you drew. So I'm pulling my thread tails to the back here. Now we're gonna go diagonal, and the way I do this, keeping my foot up, I lean the ruler against the needle and go up to this corner point with the ruler, and then I just draw lightly the diagonal so I make it straight. Otherwise, I can't stay straight. And you want to land right back in that corner seam again, or the corner hole. And then we're going to come down this other side we haven't stitched down yet. Again, your last one ending right where the line is. And then rotate, and now we're going to go diagonal again. So here's my ruler. Right in the hole. Okay, come back down again. Make sure you get right on that line we drew. And then you'll come back across that line we drew and finish at the top stitching here. And then that's done. Your box stitch is done. You can see here and there, if it doesn't get my face. Okay. Pull your thread tails to the back, tie off, cinch, and fray check. And then we're gonna repeat that 3 more times. Jeez Louise, come on. Must be on tape or something. It's like super hard to pull through. I've never had that before. Here we go. Diagonal. One side done, you can put it aside. Finish the next one. I was like right on the line. I'll have to try to remember that. Carol? Okay. Yeah, you're gonna love Annette's stuff. Her stuff's quality. Like everything is. And she has stuff for all different types of machines. Okay. I wish I would have got the red Smoothie Smooth on my last order. Because I would wear a red bag. You know what I mean? I would wear all the colors I just got. The leopard one she has. Oh! I can't wait to make a bag with that. My next personal project, probably. For sure. Alright. Hallelujah, the last bit is done. Okay. That is the worst part to me of the whole bag, doing those. They're so tedious, but they look so good. And just a little tip on Smoothie Smooth, if it gets dirty, you can use a magic eraser on it. Ask me how I know. Maybe my son stepped on my Smoothie Smooth one time and there was a footprint and I was devastated. Okay. Oh, awesome, Melissa. Yeah, it's nice. Okay. I always clean up as I go. One set is done here. Now we are going to take your top. I'm just gonna buzz my little lighter down this to seal the edges. So with your top in front of you, it should be taller than it is wide. These sides here, the longer edges are where we attach our sides. And you'll know because it's too big this way, okay? But it fits this way. So be mindful when you're cutting directional fabric that the direction's the right way for where you're gonna attach your zipper. Your zipper will end up being the front of the bag. So there's that. Just gonna run this down. I do this to all my polyester nylon stuff. It just helps seal the edges. Okay, so we're gonna lay it right sides together. And you're gonna wanna make sure your strap loops are towards closer to the top panel. Make sure all your centers are lined up. This bag really is, you have to be precise. You can't kind of fudge it. There can't be one panel that's a little bit longer. All right, we're gonna do 3/8 inch seam allowance back stitch at the start and the stop. And then I cut off a little bit at the seams here, just like that on both sides. And then you're gonna fold the side panel away from the seam. So the seam allowance is underneath the side panel, not the top. This is important for the container to fit. Top stitch on the side panel. I do back stitch at the beginning and end. Repeat on the other side now. Same process. So, sides together. I wish I had my black and white checker smoothie smooth before I had cut this bag out. There we go. We have this entire panel now, okay? Very long, very long. Make sure if you had to mark your centers, do it now. You're gonna need it for the next step. I'm gonna rotate you. Okay. Get your longest zipper, and you are going to find the center of this zipper. And I mark it on both sides. We are going to separate the zipper, which is why we need to know. It'll save you so much heartache at the end, at the last step. Okay, I have my centers marked on the front and the back. So separate this zipper and put this one aside till our flat pack. Okay, now I'm going to use 1/8 inch double stick tape and put it down. So make sure you're putting your zipper tape along the edge that's the front, where you're going to be unzipping and pulling it down. Like, make sure if you have a directional print, you're paying attention to that. This is when it matters. I liked my directional prints to where if I'm standing in front of my tote with the zipper flat panel facing me, I want to see the print the proper way. So that's how I do it when I have a print that is directional. Like that shark one I just did, that's what I did. All right, remove the backing. And place your zipper tape right side down. The coil, the metal teeth will be, the teeth will be facing towards the back of the bag. Right sides together. So teeth side down, but away from the edge we're placing the tape on. This might seem super obvious to some that are more experienced, but during my class it was a question that came up. Someone wasn't sure exactly how to place the zipper tape, so make sure your teeth are on the top, facing towards the back of the bag, and you're putting the edge without the teeth along this front, the entire thing. We want to do this now because we don't want to have to try to put this on when it's already in shape. It's just an extra curve you don't want to mess with. Easier. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to sew this. I have done it with the 3/8 inch seam allowance, and I have done it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I prefer the 1/4 inch. So you do what you would like. The thing fits either way. The 1/4 inch just makes it a little bit easier. And I like the way it lays as well. Okay. This will feel like the world's longest zipper. Okay. Of course. Good job. do not trim your zipper tape. You need these long tails to install your zipper pulls at the end. We will trim them down after we install our zipper pulls, but do not trim them now because that would be a nightmare. Honestly, you wouldn't want to finish the bag probably. All right, now we're gonna fold our zipper tape to the back and top stitch. Okay, this whole piece is now done. You can set that aside along with your bottoms. Okay. The bottom it's the very last part, so. There we go. Now we're going to move on to the trolley sleeve. You'll need one zipper pull. We're going to put the back mesh and fold over elastic to the side. We're going to have to stitch this on, and I'll show you how, but I'm going to do it at my 8700 because I find mesh with fold over elastic is easier to put together on a domestic machine. And the 8700 is my domestic version of an industrial machine. So install your zipper pull. And this will be, let me make sure I have the right zipper tape. Okay, it's the longer of the two zipper tapes you have left. We did have someone in class use the wrong zipper tape, so just be mindful it's the longer of the two you have remaining for the trolley sleeve. Okay, oop. There we go. Also, if you're looking for a resource for zipper tape that's really pretty dang good, Amazon. Hate to say it, but that's where I get my matte black tape with matte black teeth. It's great. Okay, so do you have your 2 trolley zipper tabs? I do not use liner tabs. It is bulky and a waste. You don't need them. So place a line of tape along one of the shorter edges. Get these out of here. I don't need the bag right now. Hey girl. And you're gonna place these zipper tabs right side together with the zipper tape, just like that. And we're gonna sew these on. Can't remember, you can do 3/8 or 1/4. I can't remember what I did. I'm gonna do 1/4. You can trim them down if they're too big. Make sure your zipper pulls on though before you do this. So your zipper tab should be corresponding with your trolley sleeve exterior, so it kind of blends in and matches, if that makes sense. I mean, you don't have to. You can go ham wild if you want, but that's what I do. Although these, I could have made it so that my checkers matched up, but I'm not doing that. All right. Fold back your zipper tabs and top stitch them. Find the center of this, top and bottom. Now you're going to want to get your exterior and your liner of your trolley sleeves if you're doing a liner. Make sure you find the top. I didn't find the centers on the top and bottom edges. So this piece is taller than it is wide. These two pieces are also not the same size, so this will be included in my little handout I upload. right, along the top edge, which is the shorter, one of the shorter edges, I'm gonna put a piece of tape all the way across the top on the exterior. Remove the backing, make sure your zipper pull is closing to the left. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point unless you have directional fabric, but face down on the zipper, right sides together. So I did a 1/4 inch and I really won't have to trim off much on my zipper tabs, so. It's okay though if it's shorter because we will shore up everything. It's more than wide enough, so. We can trim off a little and it still works great. Another line of tape on top of that. And then our liner right side down. And you're gonna sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Move that zipper pull out of the way at first. And I do back stitch. I'm going to trim down a little bit from the sides, just for bulk, and then fold the liner and the exterior away from the zipper tape. Stitch. All right, on the other shorter edge, we're gonna run some tape again. Flip the zipper up, and you're gonna put it right side down. More tape. And then flip that liner up. Place it right side down. Perfect. 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, now unzip your zipper. And you are going to pull your lining through the hole. And you're basically turning the bag right side out. Through the zipper opening. Now remember this is my lining. So step one, like this, right side out. This is my exterior. Then to top stitch it, you're gonna have to flip it lining side out. Okay, just like this. And make sure you pull all of your materials away from that zipper where you need a top stitch. I'm just finger pressing them. Okay, now we are going to top stitch this like this. So the seam I need to stitch is right here with the zipper tape touching my table. This is how you access and put your foot down. You're going to roll this up like that, okay? So I'll show you. Zipper foot here, and then roll this back. And you'll be able to pull it and go all the way. I'm just gonna pull my thread back here. There we go. Gotta hold my thread tails. Okay. So now I'm at the very edge to start top stitching. And it'll only be hard right now for a couple stitches till you get closer to the zipper and the actual thing can like straighten out. But just make sure you're rolling your lining and just do a couple stitches here and there and then readjust if you have to. Just like that. And then you can kind of pull it away like this. It's not hard, it's just awkward. You can do it. Now when you're coming down to the other end, rotate this bulk to the back so you can access all the way to this edge. And make sure you hold your little zipper pull out of the way if it's a big dangly thing. Now you can turn it right side out. There you go. Piece of cake. Go ahead and zip it up and make sure your zipper pull closes to the left, okay? If you need to shore up your edges, we're gonna do it in a minute, not yet. So you wanna fold this so you have about 1 inch on top here. looks about right. And it doesn't have to be like super like this. If you want it like your zipper lower or however you want to do that, but just try to make sure everything's laying flat and even. We're going to top stitch the top and bottom's folded seams here. So if you don't want your zipper to look crooked, make sure it really is 1 inch all the way. Okay, top stitch this edge. Okay, now you're going to kind of just smooth it with your hand to get this other edge folded. Now your liner should fit nicely inside of your exterior. That's why we made it a little bit shorter. If it's a little bit too small, it doesn't matter, but it should be better than being too much fabric, which was what was happening to me before I changed it. Now is when you can trim the sides if you need to. I don't baste them because we're going to baste it onto the back panel, but you could if you wanted to. Mine, I could trim over here a little bit, but I'm not going to. Okay, I will. Okay, I will. Let me just trim it a little bit. My liner kind of shifted out here a little. On this one side. There, perfect. This side is good. All right, set this aside. Now we need to finish our mesh pocket onto the back before we baste on the trolley sleeve. So you have your back mesh, and one thing with mesh, when you're cutting it, it always needs to stretch left to right. It really only has good stretch one way, and it always needs to be left to right if you're using it for a pocket, always. So make sure you cut it the right way. It should be taller than it is wide. So make sure it's stretching left to right. And I always cut a little bit longer of a fold over elastic piece when I'm attaching it to mesh, because you want to slightly stretch your fold over elastic when you're attaching it, but you do not want to stretch your mesh, and I'll show you what I mean. So let's go over to the other machine. Can you see me? Okay. I haven't put my light here yet, so it might be a little dark. For some. Maybe not though. Okay, So this is what I like to do. I like to, on one end, fold it over the mesh just like that, okay? And clip. And then you're just gonna encase this, and this is the shorter edge, okay? Remember, it's stretching left to right. And I'm gonna come down and put one more clip. That's all you wanna do. I don't use tape because tape takes away from the elasticity of this. Now I'm gonna switch to black thread because mesh it's not the easiest thing to do this. So it sometimes is not the neatest either, but it just needs to be functional. This piece ends up getting hidden behind your trolley sleeve, so you don't really see it. Like this one particular piece we're stitching right now, you won't really see it too much. But, so if it's not stitched real pretty looking, it's okay. You don't really see it. And you can totally skip this if you don't want this part. It is nice to put rulers back there though, in my experience. Oh, got my skin. I really need to get a needle threader over here because these needles are tinier since they're for this machine. It's not the same needles as my other ones. The other ones have bigger eyes to put thread through. There we go. Okay, there. Okay. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna sew closer to the, not the folded edge, but the open edge. And we're gonna back stitch well. We're gonna do 2 lines of stitching. Okay, I'm not stretching the mesh. Now you can unclip everything. But I am gonna stretch the fold over elastic, okay? But don't stretch the mesh. Let the mesh kind of bundle up. That's kind of what you want. The machine will pull the rest through, but don't pull like too crazy. Back stitch. Perfect. Now we're gonna do one more across the very top here, but you can see now it still stretches to accommodate things, but isn't too crazy looking. So now I'm gonna do along the top edge, but you do need 2 rows of stitching in my opinion, or your mesh can rip out, and that is so heartbreaking when that happens. I've had it happen to me before on bags. I don't really prefer these mesh pockets, but they are kind of handy. And they look cool. Especially if you can do like funky colors. I just bought some lime green mesh. It's so cute. But this isn't for me. This is Sharon's, so. Okay. Now you can just trim off that excess like that. And then get your back piece while we're here. And we're gonna place, so on the back piece, I have my 2 box cutouts on the top, but this needs to align with the bottom. So first what I do is clip the bottom. We're just gonna baste this on. I'm using this machine because its stitch length is smaller and I feel like it just does it so well and easy. And then come up the side. And make sure you align one side here. You can measure and make sure it's perfect, but like I said again, it's gonna be hidden behind the trolley sleeve. Now when you're doing the other side, see if you can see that. The other side here, you are gonna have to stretch this over like, where are you? Like this. And it's gonna pull up on the other side, but that's okay. That's what you want, because then it'll have a nice stretch once the, like, you know what I mean? It won't be all loosey-goosey, and it'll actually hold things in there. So now we're gonna baste this on, and just do this on your domestic machine. My industrial could do it, but it's the thread's bigger. Everything is just, it's better on this one in for my sewing room. Also, you can see like this machine sews the suit smoothie smooth, great. But just use a tiny stitch length so that you can be sure you're catching all of the, as much of the mesh to baste it on as possible. The seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch on the final construction, so just make sure you're staying within that seam allowance for basting. I'm just going to trim the little bit of overhang I have down here. All right, that's done. Now we can go back over to the other machine and finish everything up. Horse girls cost a lot. Yeah, I'm learning that. Next we have to buy riding boots because she rides English. So, I'm gonna drink some water. Oh, that's awesome, Delphina. Okay, so now we are going to put this on here. And it doesn't really matter really where you line this up as long as it's the same for both sides. I think it was 2.5 I had done. That sounds right. You're only gonna sew one side, so only clip one side, 2.5 inches from the top edge. Just gonna clip that guy here and line him up. And this one is gonna get basted on. Yeah, my husband was saying the other day, well, maybe she won't get a first car. She'll get a horse instead. I'm like, yeah, probably, honestly. Okay, this other side, 2.5. I do use a ruler, make sure, because it's kind of hard, because this is going to pop up, which is what you want. But if this ends up being a little crooked, it's not the end of the world. Nobody will notice but you. It's on the back anyways. Okay. Clip that down, and then this is where I like to add my woven tag. I made my woven tags to have that 3/8 inch seam allowance, so it'll pop out perfectly once it's sewn on, but just be mindful of like the text and the seam allowance, that you move your woven label accordingly. I'm going to base all the way down. And make sure you have your centers on the top and the bottom already marked. If you didn't, you'll need that for final assembly. But there you go. You can see why you don't need the back side of the zipper tab. You can't even see the back side of the zipper tab. So there's that. The back is done. Set this aside. Now we're going to work on our flap. First is the liner of the flap. So get your liner of your flap. We're going to build the whole shebang here. And this is just how I like to do it. You could just add a slip pocket. I mean, you don't have to do anything. I just like it so when you hang the flap over the edge of a table, when you have it opened and you're using it actively for the drawers to be operational, I like to have a little flap hanging down and a little slip pocket I can slide like a pen in, or my scissors or whatever. It's kind of like a built-in little holder thing. Okay, for this, we are going to need, or set the liner aside, we need the last mesh, the zipper overlay, the divided slip pocket, and your, don't forget your, what is this called? Ollie Fun, I'm pretty sure. And you're going to need your last zipper, the smallest one, with the zipper pull. Just one. So you should have 2 zippers left, which is for the main compartment. Okay. So I'm going to install my zipper pull. All right, set that aside. Set aside your slip. Take your overlay, and we're going to add 4 lines of tape along the long edges. Okay, remove the outer 2 backings from the tape. Leave the inside 2. We'll deal with those later when we install the zipper. Taking your mesh, again, it should stretch left to right, but it should be taller than it is wide. But from one of the short ends, which would be your top, I guess, you're going to measure 1.5 inches. You could even do 2 inches if you wanted. 1.5 inches is good for me though. And you're gonna center this overlay. It's gonna have about 1/4 inch on each side, and that's good because we don't want too much into the seams of the flap, because the flap's gonna have the zipper around the outside, and trying to top stitch through this and the zipper tape, nightmare, okay? Possible, but it's really not necessary, in my opinion, if you're doing this way. So that's 1.5 inches from the top, and then I turn it over on the back here, and I run another line of tape right over the tape that's already been exposed. So each of the long edges here. Then I take some Ollie Fun, and I always just rough cut this because I end up trimming it down to size where you won't see it from the front. So make sure it just at least goes, covers the overlay and spans the entire width. You could cut it precisely, but I feel like it's a waste to do that. I mean, this is wasteful for sure, what I'm doing, but it works. It doesn't matter what side you have down, but I do like to do the shiny side down. Okay, just like that. Now you're gonna stitch along the outside of this box only. I pull my thread tails to the back, so I'm gonna just start in 1/4. You can backstitch here because this will be in the seam. If you don't want to pull your thread tails, I'm actually gonna do that. Especially if you like come over here and start, you can totally backstitch and not see that. And this is not part of the pattern at all. This is just how I decided to do mine. I have my woven labels made myself overseas. You can use Super Label Store for US orders. They are local, like in our country of the United States. They're kind of expensive, but they are good quality. I'm making a modified everything but the machine tote. You're coming in a little bit late. We're almost done, but it's basically a tutorial. I'll be adding the modified measurements that I use for this project from the original designers in my membership area of YouTube. I'll do that in a little bit after I get off. So now I'm just trimming down the Ollie Fun. I'm just folding back my mesh and cutting so it's kind of right behind the overlay. Just make sure you don't cut your mesh because then you'll be sad. The checkered is waterproof canvas from Underground, and the blue is the Smoothie Smooth from Tulipy. I'm pretty sure the blue is sold out right now though. The Luxe Bonded Nylon though from Wonderground would work great though. there you have it. So you can't see the Ollie Fun from the front besides inside the zipper box. But now we're gonna fold this overlay and cut out the middle, just like how we would do a zipper overlay. I'm just gonna make a starting cut, slide my zipper in, or my scissors in, and make sure your scissors stay between, you know, and don't cut your overlay. But you're just gonna cut back the Ollie Fun and the mesh. There we go. Just be careful. There we go. So now you've exposed your zipper tape, the actual tape, the double-sided tape from before, and you can remove these backings. And then I like to just place my zipper on my surface, right side up, my zipper pull going to the left. And I kind of just eyeball it and put it in this center. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the center. You can use like a little zipper centering thing if you have one. Okay, just like that. Okay, now we're gonna top stitch around the middle to install the zipper. I do pull my thread tails to the back for this. Right on the money. I love it when that happens. Okay. Pull these back and tie them off. And then cinch them and freight check them. Okay, there is the zipper overlay installed on mesh, and so the Ollie Fun just helps it have even more that it's sandwiched between, you know, makes it even more secure. Now we're gonna make our divided slip pocket. Oh, and you get to watch me refill my lighter here. I have one of those little clips. hold on, let me get this might work. I always push the pressure down to, no, that's too big, hold on. I find these little hair clip things work best to release the pressure in this butane lighter, but you just push it down, you can hear it, it kind of, this is the key. You have to do this part. Otherwise it won't fill up all the way because it's pressurized still. Okay. Upside down, fits over the thing, and then you can see it like fills up with liquid. That's how you do it. I'm just heat sealing my edges here. Okay, so for this piece, it should be as wide as your mesh, and that is the top and the bottom then. As wide as your mesh, okay? Now, we're gonna draw a 1/2 inch line along the top and the bottom. Put a line of tape along each edge and fold up to the line we drew. Yeah, you gotta depressurize it, or whatever that word would be, but if you need to see me do it again, there's a reel on my Instagram of me doing it, showing you how. Alright, just folding up to this line. Okay, you're going to top stitch one of these, and then the other one just gets some tape. So I'll top stitch the edge without tape. And I do back stitch. Okay, add some tape along the two sides as well, since we're dealing with mesh. And then on your mesh piece we're going to deal with the opposite end now. Remove your backings from your tape. And measure 1 inch up from the bottom. It's very important you do this, or you're going to have to do your installation through this, like for the flap, it's way harder. So just measure up 1 inch, okay? I had someone do that in class and it was a little bit more challenging to complete. I also have people who didn't even want to do this part, so they didn't. Now I'm going to take my ruler and make a measurement where I like to have the divided area. You add yours wherever you would like. I like it about 2.5 inches. You could also do it right in the center. And now we are going to put ollie fun on the back. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna pop this over a little bit more. Okay, so more tape. All the tape. Now I personally am not going to trim away the ollie fun because I kind of like the extra slip pocket it kind of creates behind. That will be inside the mesh pocket. You can also trim it away if you don't like that function, but I thought it was pretty cool. So same thing as before. You need a piece that's at least as wide and as tall. Oh, right here to right here. Just making sure not to trim my mesh. Okay. Go ahead and cut this. If you wanted this to be precise, you could just take off of 1/2 inch off the height of this divided slip pocket piece. Remove the double-sided tape backing. My machine is a Texo 2750 Pro. Okay, and then we're gonna place this down. I am gonna make sure that my top straight edge is even with my pocket on the top, then I don't have to trim that later. And it'll stay hidden behind the actual pocket. The bottom seam I can totally trim because I stitch it down so it's easier to trim it up. This side doesn't get stitched, so. Okay, now we're going to sew down the 3 edges, but we're gonna come up along this divided line and back down and keep going, that kind of deal. I'm sure many of you know how to do that. Stop right before that line we drew. Go up that line. Rotate 1 stitch over the back stitch. And then we're going to go back down. Okay, I went off a little bit there. Let's see. Let's go back 1. Forward 1, and I'm going to manually place it. There we go. All right, now we can trim the sides even. going to trim the olifant on the bottom of the divided slip. Don't rush. Don't want to cut your mesh. Cool. Boom. So now you have a divided slip pocket, which it kind of makes a double divided slip because on the inside of the mesh pocket you'll have one as well. If you don't want that, you can just trim this out as well. I've done that way too, but I don't mind it. And it's really not a hindrance when you're putting things in this pocket for there to be that. If you don't want to use it, just slip it all the way behind it. Okay, now you're going to take your liner and you'd think like, okay, I'll put it with the zipper towards the top, right? The top of the flap. No, because when this is functioning, it's hanging down like this, so you'll totally have it backwards and your slip pocket won't be able to be used. So you need to flip it to where you're aligning on the bottom edge of the flap. The straight edge of the flap is the top of the mesh. And we're just gonna clip it in place. And so you'll need to baste on the mesh to the liner. I'm gonna pop over to the other machine and do it, but I'm not gonna move you. It's the same thing. We're just basting all 4 edges. I need to clean my needle as well when I come back. A little sticky. I'm using a size 20 needle today. I've been using 20 needles lately. I'm not sure why, but I've been liking it. I had made that duffel by Lynn's Handmade, and so I upped my needle for that, for the top stitching, because there's some thicker parts. And nice. All right, here we go. I'll be right back. Go ahead and get a drink of water or something. Hello, welcome to the live. I'm almost done sewing and modified everything but the machine tote by Salty Sews, and channel members will get the modifications I've made to the patterns, pieces, and sizes and all that jazz so it can fit the current Sterilite containers available for purchase. Okay, so there you go. Now when the flap hangs down, you'll have your zipper pocket. You can put your hand in, it goes all the way down. Oh, I just popped a hole in those. Dang. No, that's okay. It'll be fine. So, it'll have a full mesh pocket. There's also, you know, the little divided slip back here you can use and the divided slip in the front. So, there's that. And I basted this on the other machine because this is waterproof canvas. It's thin and it's just easier. It doesn't stretch out the size. So if I were to sew it on this one, it would kind of crunch up the piece a little bit because it's thinner. So use a domestic to baste it on, and then you'll make sure that you don't distort the pattern piece size, and it'll make this next step of installing the zipper for the flap even easier if it's the right size. Okay, so you should have also your centers on the bottom and on the top of the liner in the main flap piece, which is this one. If you want to add a patch or something fun on the front, do it before we do this next step. 1 second, I have to tell them to be quiet. I'm live sewing, if you could be quiet just a little, please. Okay, now what we're gonna do is add tape all around these 3 edges here. I've also curved this pattern piece. The original pattern does not have this piece curved, and it's very hard to install. So I'll give the size of the degree of the curve on that document I'll upload after the live. So just gonna do this over here because it's too big to do it elsewhere. Okay, so you're gonna add tape along all 3 edges, not the bottom edge, which is the straight edge. Does everyone know the zipper tape I'm talking about when I say it's like woven striped? Don't use that zipper tape on this back. That stuff frays in general, but the way we install this, it'll definitely fray. So don't use that woven striped zipper tape. Just use regular zipper tape. It can be the striped stuff that's all like nylon, but not the woven one. Okay, so go ahead and remove your tape backing. And you do need to do the tape backing. Now, a channel member is something you pay for. It's like $1.99 a month, I think. It's sometimes you can't access it to join, and it's not subscribing. You'll have to subscribe to join to be a channel member as well. But it's just something that you just extra perks and stuff. Okay, find the center mark we did before on your zipper tape and align it with the top center we have marked here. And you're going to just push this tape right side down along the top edge, but don't go around the curve yet. And I know this is controversial, but I've never had a problem, and this doesn't fit so tight that it even affects the zipper. But before I go around this curve right here, I just make little tiny 1/8 inch snips into the zipper tape. And then this is how you're gonna stick it down around this curve. You're gonna slightly pull it along. So it'll kind of pull out those little snips a little, but it makes it just lie flatter around that curve, especially on the step where we attach the liner flap to this exterior. Okay, just like that. It just lies. I can't think of the right version right now, but it's super nice. Okay, do that. And repeat it on the other side. Remember, this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so you don't want to make your snips too, but I just gently pull, or, you know, push and pull, push it down, pull, push, pull around the curve. And then come all the way down here. The flap turns out perfect this way, trust me. I've tried many iterations to get this perfect, especially this curve without there being ripples, because I don't like the ripples. Now, this next step is important. You need to baste the zipper on again. I know we tape basted, but this is one instance where I accept machine basting on a zipper. I usually don't do it, but 1/8 of an inch. And my stitch length is like a 4 right now. It's longer. This just prevents it from coming detached and distorting. So what happens in the corners, if they aren't for sure like stuck in there, your corners will end up, like the zipper tape will end up popping up and out once it's finally installed. So this helps prevent that. It just holds it in there for you while you attach the lining. And the tape won't, it's not sufficient. It needs more. All right, there we go. Now, my dog is barking up a storm. Silly guy. Okay, back to the tape table. Okay, more tape. Right along that seam we just sewed, that stitch line, more tape. And if you want super structure on your flap, you could cut down a piece of like the Dollar Tree cutting mats and slide it in at our final step here after we're turning it out. You could add some foam. The thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to add too much structure in here, because you do need to give it room to put things in that pocket if you want to. So if you're going to add a lot of structure, you're not going to be able to stuff this or use it very much, right? Because it'll be structured and pressed against the front of the drawers. The front of the drawers have this like a little lip, and so they kind of stick out farther than everything else, and that's why we had to adjust as well to account for this, because I don't think it did originally. I don't know how the original drawers were, but in my class we did have a gal that had the original 5-drawer unit, and she had the new, like, so I had the new one and she had the original one, and we measured them, and hers was smaller than doing it with 2 bumped onto the 3. So that's why it kind of needed to be modified a smidge. All right, so just keep that in mind about stabilizer on this front flap. You kind of want it floppy, okay? All right, and move the backing, and then we're gonna take this lining, the one we finished, and line up your centers here on the curved edge, okay? I'm going to clip just along this straight edge, and then this is what we're going to do. I'm going to come closer and show you. This light is, get out of here. Okay. No. See this zipper popping up here? You're going to slowly fold it down and attach, like stick down the lining as you go around the curve, because otherwise you'll get a ripple there. Kind of fold it in, get it out of the way, and then clip it. See how it wants to pop up? If you just clipped it, you're going to get a fold in your zipper tape. Just fold it in and stick it down. So you can see if you didn't make your slip pocket come up an inch from the bottom, all of this would be also as thick with the slip pocket. So that's why you want to bump that down an inch for sure. You can do that. All right, so I'm just kind of smoothing the zipper tape along as I'm clipping and sticking. Okay, and my liner is a little bit long because this shrunk when I basted on my zipper. And that is okay. You can kind of pull it down and lay it flat as well. Sometimes it's just like that. But we'll trim it up at the end and shore it up when we baste these two closed. All right, same thing over here. I'm gonna be folding down the tape flat and then sticking on the liner. Folding flat, sticking on the liner. You can make it 6 drawers if you want, but it'd be even taller. It's kind of big as it is. But you totally could if you figured out the math. Okay, there we go. Maybe the designer will on her next one, I don't know. Okay, I am going to stitch this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Take your time because this will affect the shape of your flap. And just make sure you're feeling with your fingers and everything is staying flat. I will get my screwdriver here in a second. I'm going to come up to the curve. I'm still feeling and making sure everything feels flat underneath. And then right as I get to the curve, I'm going to stop and take off these 3 clips right here, okay? Get my screwdriver. And I am going to peel it back just a scotch. And feel and make sure I'm pressing my zipper teeth, the tape, totally flat, and then go around the curve. Same thing, after I do a couple stitches, I'll go back in here. Make sure I'm just pressing on the teeth with the screwdriver, making sure they're straight. And I just do a couple stitches. Same thing. You still need to do this a little bit after the curve even, just to make sure that the teeth are flat. because they can still ripple right after the curve as well. You just fill with your fingers. Same thing on this second corner. We're coming right before the curve, and then I'll just unclip all these. And same thing, I'm just gonna unstick it a little and just press on the teeth with my screwdriver and then press it down, and I can feel it's totally flat, and just do a couple stitches until I get to where I had stopped pressing and made sure everything was flat. You don't want to pull on the zipper tape too much because it can distort it, but you just want to like flatten it. And the screwdriver's nice because you can put it right up to the teeth and push out. A little bit after, I'm still gonna do it. There we go. And we're done. Make sure your zipper pulls kind of into the middle because you can snag it on the one side if not. Okay. Remember, you do want these long tails. Don't cut them off yet. We have to install the zipper pulls before we trim those. Okay, I'm gonna just clip around these top corners. You really want to clip around these top corners because it will be hard to top stitch and make it look nice if not. Okay, that's all you need to trim. Now you can turn it right side out. We're almost done. Okay, now push out these corners. Just be gentle, don't pull too hard on your tape. You can roll the corners a little, use a tool. I just finger press the zipper or the liner and the exterior away from the zipper teeth. It's a Texo Pro, 2750 Pro. Texo is the name. You can squeeze with a clamp here if you want to push down on these little edges here. Okay, now we're going to top stitch. Kind of line up these Okay, take your time on this part, or it'll look a little funky. And it will be noticeable because it's the front. Instead of a knee lift, this machine has a foot pedal. So that, I didn't even know that was an option on machines. This is just kind of how this machine came, but I do prefer it over knee lift. Okay, now we can zip across the bottom here. And seal up this flap, unless you were gonna stuff it, up to you. There we go. That guy is top stitch. I'm just gonna trim my little bit of lining up with my exterior. Sometimes it matches perfect, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. I'm not trimming my zipper tape yet. Okay, there you go. Perfect. And then you can see once it's flapped down, that's what you have to work with. You can put scissors in there, your lighter, your pen. It's really nice. And then of course you can put something inside for the whole pocket, but yeah. That's that. All right, we're gonna go ahead and set this aside. We're literally almost done. A couple more easy seams. So take your main sides and top piece, and you're gonna wanna do this other edge on the top, and that's gonna be your back. So your back has these two cutouts on the top and the center mark, and then this center mark on the top, right sides together. And it should be that the cutout goes all the way to that seam. And you're gonna sew from the box cutout to the other side box cutout with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So you're gonna start right here where this box cutout is. And you're gonna back stitch. And I'm coming up on the box cutout on the other side, and you'll back stitch right before the little end starts here. I'll show you. Hey Chris, I was gonna message you on Facebook, but then I couldn't find you. I didn't know like which picture you were, but your wallet is next. So thank you for waiting and being patient, but your wallet's next, and I have all your goodies, and I'm including machine magnets for your order for waiting. Just want to tell you that. Okay, so you see how I started and stopped my stitches right at these box cutouts? That's what you want. All right, now fold down this other open edge on the back, and it should clip to the bottom of the back panel. Okay, so like this. You want to make sure these edges line up first and then clip up towards that box cutout we have. Okay. No, thank you, Chris. You ran. Okay. So because we have that little cutout, it should end up perfectly hold all the way in here. Now, you're gonna wanna make a little relief cut. Let me see if I can show this. Before this side seam here, and it's like only a 1/4 of an inch, but it'll help that box corner lay nicely, and it'll make it way easier to stitch. So, see how it kind of folds it out? That's what you want. See that little cut right before, like right underneath that seam. Not on the top, but on the side panel, a little cut. And then clip it. Now repeat the same thing for the other side. Pull this all the way down to the bottom here. I always make sure the bottom lines up first. It'll make attaching the bottom easier. Thank you, Christine. Same thing, a little relief cut on the side panel right before the seam. Just a little guy. There we go. Okay. See? And then on the opposite side, it just makes this corner lace so smooth. And we're gonna sew all the way 3/8 inch seam allowance up to this where we stopped our stitches up here on the top part. So I start always from the bottom. Otherwise you can have shifting and stuff, and you really don't want your back panel to be longer or shorter than your sides. It'll make it easier in the long run. stitch, and then we're gonna come up 3/8 inch seam allowance. Also, I've never had a needle positioner until this bag, and I highly recommend one. It's nice. It helps prevent a lot of shifting that can happen too, so. Now, because we made that cut, this corner should totally like fold down, and you should be able to keep your sides aligned and sew right up to that stitch line that we ended before. Like right up to it, and then back stitch pretty good. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like. See how they meet? That's what you want. All right, repeat it on the other side. For this one, you can go from the bottom. I'm gonna start at the top just because I wanna really make sure I get right into where my stitch stopped here. Same thing, it should just fold nicely because we made that relief snip. And you're gonna start your stitches right where your other ones ended. Make sure your zipper on your trolley sleeve is kind of moved to the middle. Perfect. Now we can trim down all of these seams to about 1/8 or 1/4. You just want to trim off some of it because this will help the container slide back in there nicely. If these seams are too large, it won't really want to push back in there. So trim them down. Just don't trim your stitches. The top seam too. Okay. Got those new scissors. Every year I buy myself one pair of scissors. I like the Kai ones, the 8-inch dressmaking ones. They're so good. All right, I'm gonna just singe my little threads from when I had started and stopped the. I am trying to make it as clean as possible for being unlined, you know. Not necessary, but appreciated. All right, cool. Totally done. Yay. All right, put your finger on the corners, both sides, and pop it out. That's how, oh, well, hold on, wait. I like to trim these little guys too. You don't have to do this one though, because it should lie nicely. I gotta look up the difference between that. I always forget. Just a little bit on these. This is the top seam. Now I'm going to turn it out. If you have like a point turner tool, same thing. You can do it with your fingers though. Okay, coolio. I like to roll these seams a little bit. I mean, the plastic container will do its job. Don't worry about that. But okay. So there's the back, and you can see my little tag sticks out. It's so cute. All right, perfect. Now we have almost a shacket. Now we have to attach the flap with the zipper pulls. So get your last 2 zipper pulls. After we do the flap, we just attach the bottom. It's 4 easy seams and we're done. Put on our strap, we're done. Okay, so with this, you're gonna have to faddle around with this a little bit. The first time I did this, it was super hard. If you don't know how to install a zipper without a zipper jig, I would recommend practicing or getting your zipper jig. Yes, home stretch, April. We got this. Now, when your zipper tape line up, okay, they should be equal here, and these should be equal, the side and the front. Important. So, first install them with everything equal. If there is too much slack in this, you might have a hole once both zipper pulls come together at the top. And if you get a hole, then we'll have to adjust this and make sure this zipper tape on the flap is a little bit higher or lower, depending on if you need more or less room for the hole to disappear or get, you know, I'll show you. So everything is even. My zipper tape, these are even. And when I actually zip it down, these are pretty even too. And that's what you want. And then do it on the other side. Now, I've had bags where these had to be even, and I've had bags where they're not even, and I have to adjust it a little. So I'll show you how, depending. Take a little bit of time here. This is really important to make them even. There's no good enough for this if you want it to look nice. That's my husband's favorite phrase. I'm a perfectionist. He's not. We're opposites on everything in life. But his catchphrase is good enough. And that is not my catchphrase. Okay, so there we go. These are even. These are even. So here's the tail. We'll see. This always makes me a little nervous, but there is a way to fix it. Okay, so when I'm coming up here, you zip this around. Okay, stop at the middle. Take this, zip it around, and stop at the middle. Now, you see how mine meet and there's no bubble? There will be a hole here if there is too much and you have to adjust it. Here, there's no hole. You could literally poke your hole in it because there'll be too much zipper tape, okay? These ended up fitting, but I've made like 12 of these, so this was not always so. Just know that, okay? Now, if you have that hole, you need to determine what side the hole is on. Maybe the hole is maybe mostly on the top, on this main top part. Or if the hole's mainly on your flat part. You gotta, if it's equal, then that's easy. We can just adjust it, but it's usually a little more on one or the other, and usually it's the flap, okay? If that's the case, you're gonna unzip it totally. And when you're lining it up, you're gonna make sure this flap, if the flap one needs to be taken out a little bit, you have too much zipper tape, the holes on the flap part, that's where you can physically see the zipper tape bowing out. You'll need to attach this so that this liner, or this flap zipper tape is taller than the main compartment zipper tape, okay? So it'll be uneven. It'll be, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna unzip that because it is too hard to redo for me, but it'll be like, this one's for the flap, this one's for the exterior main part. You'll just need to make it like this, okay? And make it the equal amount on both sides. So if you need just a little bit here and a little bit there, just off center it a little like this. Let's see, the black one, it probably shows better on black. So make it like that and insert your zipper pull. If it's excess on the main, I don't think it ever will be, but if it is on this main part, then you do the opposite, okay? If you got it spot on the money, you won't have a hole. It should just be fine, just like this, okay? It's usually one or the other. It will be one or the other. And then you'll do it the same on the other side, and then zip it up and the hole should disappear. And I feel like this happened on the live I did last time for this bag, so you can see me troubleshoot it a little bit, but that's how you do it. If you have questions, message me on here. You can leave a comment, or you can comment on Instagram. I don't respond to Facebook stuff really. So, all right, our shacket is done. We just need to attach the bottom. I'm going to show you how I do the drawers. Because I need to stand up and stretch my legs. Okay, so here's one 3-drawer unit. Here's another. You literally just, I'm gonna make this my top because I already took the sticker off. So I need 2 of these drawers. You just pull them apart. They snap right apart. That easy. So now I have 2 left. These snap right on. That easy, okay? And if you make so many of these, you don't need to get rid of this. It eventually will even out the numbers for a bunch of 5-drawer units. So, or you can just have a little one for something. I don't know. Okay, drawers are built. Now we just need to attach the bottom. Before we do that, we're gonna baste our zipper teeth. Okay, you're gonna be so upset you spent all that time adding your pulls and the pull comes off. Yikes. So just baste across your zipper teeth. Backstitch real nice. You're gonna need this. It'll help in the functionality of it too, because the way this is designed, it's raw. This zipper tape ends up being raw. It'll tuck under the bottom of the containers, but I just always do this for extra like support and making sure like that zipper pull won't eventually come undone, because it would be harder to get your pull on if this was flush. So there's that. And I've tried making this with a zipper tab over this edge, and you'd have to adjust the dimensions even more and make it a little bit roomier for it to be easier to fit, because otherwise it won't fit is the problem. The drawers don't. So, but this is good enough for me. This is when I'm good enough. Okay, I'm gonna baste the other one, and like I've had mine for a while now, what, over 6 months, and it works great. So I haven't had any issues with it coming undone. So once you baste this, you can trim it. I'm gonna also singe my threads so they don't come unraveled. Be careful of your mesh so you don't burn a hole in your mesh. Exactly. No, I don't usually say that. I did just now, but okay, I also singed the bottom of the actual zipper tape to make sure it doesn't unravel or anything. Okay, now you can unzip it and turn it wrong side out. We're gonna just attach the bottom when we're done. Okay, I'm gonna zip this up a little bit. Get your bottom. Okay, and you need to make sure your connectors go from side to side, not front to back, because then you'll be upset. So wherever the strap loops are, that's where you're, okay? So just attach one side at a time. We're gonna line up the centers, clip them, and because you have these cutouts, it should fit right up to the seam there, where the cutout is. The only exception is going to be when we attach it onto where the zipper is. You got to finagle it a little there, but it works out fine. Okay, so from box corner to box corner, 3/8 inch seam allowance. Back stitch. I don't end up trimming this seam allowance at all, because the zipper is on there and you don't really need it to fit in the unit. All right, now the front. Line up the centers. It should pretty much go from the very edge of the front flap here. So there you go, it lines up right with the flap edge. Make sure your zipper pulls are out of the way too. You could even do a second line of stitching on this front part because it does, like, the flap does hang down and have weight in it, just to give it extra security. Little load bearing. So I'll do this one at like a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Oh, sorry, let me plug in my phone before it dies. That might be the worst. Ah. There we go. Okay. Finishing our enforcement stitches. That's the only seam I do the double stitch. Okay, now we can pop over these other sides. Now there is the zipper to be mindful, and I kind of make the box cutout edge go all the way to the zipper teeth. It'll make your center mark a little bit off, and you'll end up having a little bit of a gap at the back end, but it's okay. It works just fine when it's turned out. You can't see, but I really want, I don't want the hole, a hole where the zipper teeth are. So I'm just gonna, it ends up being about a 1/4 inch off center. But it'll sew up just dandy. There. So you can see right here how the edge goes right to the zipper teeth. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. Sew to this line. Backstitch really good up here by the zipper. So for this one, you might need a hump jumper. You have to carefully fold this seam on the left out of the way and get your foot over your zipper teeth. A little bit of a pain. Remember, still a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And you want to start your stitch at where the stitches end for the front. So you might need a hump jumper in the front, depending on how your machine handles bulk. And back stitch as well. And this other seam towards the back should fold out of the way well. And go right up to the corner and the other stitches. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. I'm gonna just singe my threads. Make sure you don't burn through them. But I don't want them to come unraveled. We should have one more edge to do. So same thing as before. This one should pretty much just fall in place because it's the last one. And it should also be like a little bit 1/4 inch off center. But it'll still fit perfectly. It's just now we don't have to do that little trick where we snip into the corner. Like we did on the top, because that excess is now going towards your zipper teeth, which is what you want. So this corner box cutout should go right up to the teeth like it did on the other one. This one will be a little easier to sew because we're not starting on the zipper tape. And this it should just, you can even pull on this and pull it out. See how it just folds down nicely, and then you can start. Start your stitch right where those stitches ended on the other side. Back stitch well. Okay, I'm coming up to the flap in the zipper teeth. So I can fold that out for you to see. You're going to go right up to those stitches where they end on the other seam. Make sure you try not to pull apart your zipper teeth, okay? I'm going to get a hump jumper. Just to help me get all the way to these other stitches on this side. Just helps a lot. Pop this under. So you see how it's kind of popped up here? If you're not careful, you will separate your zipper teeth. You don't want to do that. I mean, it's not that big of a deal if you do, but it's better if you don't. Alright, and just get as close as you can to where those other stitches stopped. Back stitch really good here. Okay. That's done. We're done. We're totally done. Alright, now to put in the unit. Perfect. We're going to flip it right side out. And then kind of same thing, just kind of be careful on the zipper teeth area at the bottom here. So your connectors should be left to right if you're looking at the front, which is what you want. Now we gotta fit in the drawers. This is just a smidge of finagling, but I put the base, and you want to line them up because otherwise you can install this crooked. You want these two seams, they should go right along the top of this. So I just put a little bit of my bottom on top of the zipper tape at the bottom here. And then you can slowly pull this up. It's easier if you do this now and instead of having it almost on and trying to rotate it, it's a little bit harder. So just you want this seam to go along the top. Like so. Once you get the seams on the top, so do you see how the seams are along the top edge of the container? Then you can slide it on more. Just be careful with your zipper. Pop right back in there. And the raw zipper tape will end up going underneath your unit like that. Do you see how it's under on the corner? And just push it back. Be nice and snug. Mine, it's snug, but it's loose enough that you can put stuff over here. For example, you want to take a little cutting mat somewhere, slides perfect. Some rulers, fabulous. Tape, you betcha. Okay, it's still tight, but you can put stuff on the sides, which is what I wanted. It just opens it up even more, especially adding the rulers on the side, and the cutting mat is nice. And then when you're using it, this just hangs down like this. So this will be at the edge of your table wherever you're sewing at, do you see? And then you have this like built in, and this thing gets heavy. It gets heavy, so you don't have to worry about it sliding off. But yeah, that's how I do that. So you go ahead and zip it up. And Sharon's custom, everything but the machine tote, is finito. Let's add the strap. So make sure you have everything the right way facing, like your slide adjuster is the right way out. Clip, clip. Look how nice that is. So nice. This slides in. And it clips on down here. Okay. There you go. There you have it. That's how you sew my version of the everything but the machine tote. And it does hold a lot. I like it. Here's the bottom. Okay. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm going to get off and make that document and upload it for subscribers right now.